right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of AM Minnesota. I know it's 10 days away from Memorial Day, but we're going to get some details about Memorial Day observances because all next week is booked with shows. We've got Dusty Dienst with us, the Faribault Emergency Management Director, and, of course, Fire Chief. He'll be with us on Monday. Jerry will be visiting with folks from the Emeralds on Tuesday. We've got someone coming in talking about Metcon Lumber's 30th anniversary on Wednesday. Faribault Police Chief John Sherman will be with me on Thursday. We've got our first of 3 segments concerning Heritage Days on Friday of next week. So this was really the only day we had open. And Kirk Mansfield was nice enough to say we'll come in on that day because, well, we really didn't have any other options, to be quite honest. And Kirk, you know these people sitting to your right and to your left, so I'll let you do the introductions because you're better at it than I am.
Well, I don't know about all that, Gordy. I heard you guys talking the other day about having a face for radio, and my mom definitely says I got a great face for radio.
Wow.
So with that, I'm glad I'm here and not on, broadcast television to having to do these introductions. But
well, hopefully you don't look more like your mom if she says that.
Well, she's a beautiful lady, but all in all, I still got a good face for radio. So we're all set. But yeah, to my right here, I've got Luke Shepard. He's going to be our, title-wise, he is our Grand Marshal for the Memorial Day program. And then to my left, I have Sheila Radtke, and Sheila is our Honorary Grand Marshal. So, and then not here today, but definitely with us in spirit is our honored combat veteran, and that is Nathaniel Cunningham. And Luke and him are best buddies, so he could probably give you the rundown on Nate. But yeah, we're glad to have them all here with us, and we're going to let them speak today at length. And you got their bios here, so we can kind of go through some of that and any questions you have. Hopefully we can get everything answered here.
So how do you determine the difference between the Grand Marshal and the Honorary Grand Marshal?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, every year we're always seeking out candidates, and this year we just, when we had our first meeting at the Legion 3 months ago, we're kind of like, hey, who's got candidates? And I think PJ Paul Johnson had already talked to Sheila regarding that position, and so she had willingly accepted, and we're glad she's here with us. But yeah, there's really, in terms of each of the categories, I mean, Luke by all means could be the honored combat vet, or anyone that's served in any capacity, in a combat role. So yeah, it's tough to differentiate between them. They're all just positions that we want to recognize, but a lot of it doesn't come down to title necessarily. It's just the fact that they have served, and we want to make note of the sacrifices they've made, and certainly their families, here on the home front in their absence. So that's really what it comes down to in the end.
And they are actually representing all veterans, right?
I think so. I mean, they can probably tell you that too, but absolutely. Anytime we have the Memorial Day program and Veterans Day program for that matter, they're representing all. But we're just recognizing them by name and again, to honor their service and the sacrifice that they've put forth.
What I think is awesome is that the city of Faribault has observed Memorial Day since the 1860s.
Yeah.
Not many communities can say that.
Yeah, I think Faribault historically, I mean, we, I guess, fortunate or not, I mean, we were on the map pretty early on, in the state of Minnesota. So I think that's part of that sequence and the legacy that's continued. So again, honored to be able to continue this tradition, and it's an awesome event. And
in fact, a number of years ago, Congress named Faribault the City of Flying Flags. I think it was when Senator Durnberger was a senator, if I remember right.
Okay.
The City of Flying Flags, because, you fly flags here all the time.
Well, we do. Elysian might have something to say about that. You've been through Elysian, right? Like Highway 60?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I mean, they have a whole line of flags along the highway there. I don't know if Faribault, we can have that title, but Elysian might have something to say about that.
Well, that might have been I don't remember when Senator Durnberger served. It's been a number of years ago.
Sure.
And the flags in Elysian may have come up after that. I don't know how that all works. But let's visit with the Grand Marshal, Luke Shepard. Wow, it says here you were 17 when September 11th hit.
That's true. I was sitting in my high school English class, watching it on TV. And I'm sure for a lot of people it'd say the same, but it was a day that definitely impacted and changed the rest of my life.
You decided on that day you were going to be in the service.
Well, I'd already known that was going to be my future. I'd considered a career in the Air Force. I was really big into fighter jets, and I thought I wanted to be a fighter pilot. Nobody told me you had to be super smart and really good in school to be able to do that. So I missed out on that opportunity, but ended up on a tank instead. And it made sense for me. I had family that were in the military. My dad was in the Army, and I just kind of always knew that I wanted to go. It just happened to work out that it was the right time to do it.
So you were on a battle tank.
So I enlisted in the Army to be a tanker, and then the needs of the Army came first, and they decided that they didn't need tanks in the battle space. They put me on a Humvee. I went in 2004. I got my deployment orders, and they hadn't even put armor on the Humvees yet. So when I got over there, we were tacking everything we could to these Humvees, try to armor ourselves and get ourselves in good shape as much as possible. Things are totally different now. The vehicles are just made with armor. They're made a lot better, totally different. But at the time that we got there, it was ragtag. I was a machine gunner on a Humvee with no protection, just out there doing patrols in villages.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
They're kind of scary.
You know, I look back on it now, and I don't know, how would you say, the naivety of youth, you know, kind of took over. You're just out there doing your job. You know, you don't realize kind of how crazy the life you're living is until you're on the other side of it.
It's one of the reasons why they want young people, right?
Yeah, well, that and the physicality. I mean, it's a very, very physically demanding job. We were doing 18-hour days, 6 days a week, 30 days a month. I mean, it was just nonstop, hardcore, high op tempo, getting after it every day, trying to maintain an aggressive posture so that we could keep enemy activity low.
So what do you do now for a living?
I'm a photographer, so I have my own business called Lens Grunt. That's something that was actually born out of my time in Iraq. When I went over, I picked up a point-and-shoot camera, you know, back then, 2004, 2005, when I deployed. We didn't have cell phones. You know, we didn't have all this technology. We were still very much face-to-face, and a camera was still a very relevant thing to have. And so I picked one up, figuring that I could document my life over there, and if in the event that I didn't come back because I was in a combat role, forward-facing combat role, you know, maybe someone could pick up the camera and see kind of the life that I lived. And
you could write a book.
Yeah, I probably could. I've had a pretty crazy, interesting life. But that love for photography really kicked off in Iraq as I was just documenting everything, and I got really, really hooked on it. I became the guy that was known as like the guy with the camera. Like,
sure.
You know,
so
I'd go around in the unit and I'd be pointing the camera, and people would, get that thing out of my face. You know, back then, people didn't want a camera on them. And now it's just become part of my life. I've taken it and turned it into a whole career. You know, I've served a bunch of people here in this community. I've done work for 10,000 Drops. Currently, I'm serving as the marketing director for Mighty Fine Coffee. And we're rolling. We just rolled out a new website. I've got my photography on there. If anybody needs anything in the area, hit me up.
So are you a part owner of Mighty Fine?
Not an owner. No, I came on, how do I put this? I wouldn't say I really came on. Mighty Fine started up around 2020 here in Faribault. Right behind 10,000 Drops is where they're located. They've been roasting coffee out of there for about 5 to 6 years now. And I just happened to run into the owner, Nate Cunningham, in the middle of a business deal with 10,000 Drops. And we just randomly met. I was wearing a shirt that said, Baghdad, you'll have a blast, which is, you know, a funny little joke.
Yeah.
And he saw this shirt and he goes, Baghdad, I hate that place. And I was like, really? Me too. And we just had, you know, like a stepbrother's best friends moment. And it's been a ride ever since. He's become like family to me, and I really signed on to his mission. And what we're trying to do really is just to serve coffee in this community, which is, it's really 5 communities. It's really, you have like the deaf community, you have Shattuck, and then you have Caucasian, you have the Latin community, and then of course you have the Somali community. And none of them really mingle here, you know? None of them really talk. But coffee is something that most humans are interested in and will take part in, right? So, you know, like what is a coffee shop other than a place for people to bump into each other? And so we're kind of on this mission to just get people to mingle and interact and talk to each other, because how war starts is people stop communicating start arguing, and then the fighting happens. And so when you have that separation between 5 communities that don't talk to each other, all we can see is the differences. And so Mighty Fine Coffee is really just a continuance of the mission that we had overseas, which is just to bring peace and unity in the world as much as we can.
Now, I've never heard coffee talked about that way.
Yeah. We're trying to just, serve the community one cup at a time and bring people together. And we got a new roastery that's opening up down by the old Quick Trip. That should be going in the next month and a half or so.
Is that the old laundromat?
The old laundromat, yeah. Well, no, it's actually the old dog wash right down the way from the laundromat there, though. And,
but it was a laundromat at one time.
It might have been. I've only been here since 2020, so I don't know the history too much. But, yeah, it's right down in that area right across from Faribault Foods, across from the Woolen Mill and all that.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Cologne, which is just west of the cities. So about Eden Prairie, Chaska.
Oh, yeah. I've done some baseball games up in Cologne.
Sure, yeah. So I grew up in Cologne, and then when I joined the Army, just kind of been all over ever since, sort of lived that military life of living out of a pack and traveling light. And then I just landed here. My parents ended up in Faribault, and then I was in Ohio. My father passed away, and that's what brought me back here, was to take care of family. And then I met everyone here. I met Nate, and I built a whole life off of really photography and coffee now. So, yeah, we're just out here, sharing the mission of veterans and bringing community together and bringing people together.
How does it feel to be the Grand Marshal of the Faribault Memorial Day?
I was really surprised. Nate is my best friend, but I'm, he's really more like the forward-facing people person. I'm pretty reserved in my lifestyle. So if something's going on in the community, I'll find out about it from him because he's the man that's connected to everything. Just as a part of who he is and what he did in the military, and really getting to know people is part of what he did. So he's very connected. And he comes to me one day and he's like, hey, guess what? We're going to be in a parade and we're going to be honored. And I was like, I'm going to be what? Nobody knows me. I don't even. And so apparently there's a whole room of people that are voting on my name that I didn't even realize was ever happening. But it's great. It feels great. It feels great. It feels wonderful to just to be known in this community, even if I don't know the people that know me, to be recognized. It feels great. Yeah, I've been here a while, and it's nice to be known.
And Nathaniel Cunningham is going to be the honored combat veteran.
Yep.
What can you tell me about Nate?
So Nate was an intelligence operator. He served, I don't know how much he would want to say because he's got intelligence brain about him. So I'll try to speak for him as he would speak for himself as much as I can. I think I know him well enough after about 6 years here. But he served in U.S. Army intelligence. Basically, anybody that the Army needed to find and take off the battle space, it was his job to figure out where they were. He's a very capable, very intelligent guy who headed up Mighty Fine. It was an idea of his that he started back in his deployments. He did 17 years in the Army, got blown up more times than we have fingers. It's really kind of a crazy story. I wish he was here to tell it. But after 17 years, they basically, he just got out. They said, you've done enough. It's time for you to be done. And he started making actions on Mighty Fine, and now we have Mighty Fine Coffee here. Yeah, just a wonderful guy, great person to know in the community. He's very active in the business community, in the Legion, with City Hall. So I would say he's an upstanding community member.
He was awarded for saving his commander's life under dangerous conditions. You know the story?
I don't, honestly. I'll have to check with them on that one. This is one of the fun things about being friends with an intelligence operator is that they only let you know what they want you to know.
That's true.
Yeah.
You're right there.
Yeah. So I've been slowly trying to pry as much as I can out of him over the years, and I've gotten to know him personally. His family is like family to me. His kids are like...
He's got 5 kids.
Yeah, he does have 5 kids. I know them all. They're all great kids. He's a great father, a great husband, really an amazing guy.
I do not know how you can afford 5 kids these days.
He's an excellent business operator. That's how you do it.
Yeah. All right. We're going to get to know Gene in a little bit, but right now I got to get my opening market report. I think another person's going to join us too. Today's one of those days when I wish the show was an hour. We could certainly go that long. But right now, we're going to get that opening market report, a service of your KDHL Agri Boosters. They include Werner Farm Seed Dundas, NorthlandBuildings.com, Craig Keller at the Keller Insurance Agency in Nearstrand. So don't touch that dial. We've got more coming away here in about 4.5 minutes.
Good morning. It's time for the market update on this Friday morning here on the Linder Farm Network. Chicago corn and soybean futures along with the wheat lower this morning. Joining us, Jim Emter, Van Auning Company, Alexandria. Jim, why the pressure today?
Well, Linda, when you lead up to, really this sell-off, we talked a lot about how managed money was long. Inflationary buying was a big piece of that. Uncertainty about Iran, high hopes of big China purchases out of this Trump-Xi meeting. Again, just layers of bull information on it. And when stuff doesn't materialize, Linda, you add a nice precipitation forecast to it. This is a type of liquidation you can have. It can happen hard, it can happen fast, and that's what we're into. So we're going to cleanse probably all that we need to here in the next, couple days. I think we can find some good support in July corn around 445 to 449. We're only 7 cents from that start of that area. I think these corn can find some good support yet between 469 and 475. Again, only 7 cents from that area. So we can rally fast, we can break fast, and I think that's the environment we're in. So we look for those support areas that potentially getting some coverage over sales and doing those type of things. But, expect this range trade, in our opinion, to continue back and forth. There's some holes out there. There's some problems out there. It's early. It's cold. We're going to hit that again next week. We get all that. But when you miss on exports, inflationary concerns bring concerns about possible interest rate hikes, and you get nothing out of China. This is the type of liquidation you can get.
And what are you following with livestock trade here today with the higher look to cattle, a little lower on hogs?
Yeah, cattle market not messing around. The cash undertones, the sale barns, everything just continues strong on that front. Now, again, there were hopes that maybe some waivers were renewed by China. We'll, continue to watch for details to see if they want our beef. I'm not sure if we're trying to get prices down, according to President Trump. We necessarily want to see more beef purchases out of China. But, that was something we watched here the last few days. Overall, we're tight supplies, Linda. Demand is going to be the million-dollar question, and we'll continue to watch for those fronts. But this is a cash-driven market that still looks relatively strong for the cattle. Hogs, on the other hand, it's like one day we're up, next day we're down. We're going to come down, test this VPOC and 200-day moving average. Hogs just don't have a lot going either way right now, and that's why we're stuck a bit in this range.
Thank you, Jim. Jim Emter, Van Auning Company, Alexandria. And Chicago July corn at 457 3/4, down 9 3/4. December 482 3/4, down 8.5. Soybeans July 1180 3/4, down 12 now at 1180.5. November 1173, down 10.5. July soybean meal up 560. July soybean oil down 33. July Chicago wheat down 19 1/4. September Minneapolis down 17 1/4. June live cattle up 135 and August feeder cattle up 322. June lean hogs down 67. July lean hogs down 85. The Dow is down 350. This is the Linder Farm Network.
Compart's Boar Store is excited to share year-end nursery closeout data of just 1.04% mortality on 237,000 head of Compart Duroc sired piglets. If you're interested in easy starting, robust pigs with industry-leading meat quality, genetic material is available through our newly expanded Boar Stud Network, as well as live boar additions. Contact Chris Compart at 507-381-9280.
Wingert Land Services will be auctioning approximately 160 acres of land located in Cameron Township, Murray County. This farm is located northwest of Slayton and is being offered as one parcel. The auction will be held on Thursday, June 4th at 1 p.m. at the Chandler Community Center in Chandler. Must be registered to attend. Visit wingertlandservices.com for details and registration. That's our market update on the Linder Farm Network.
AM Minnesota on the Mighty 920 KDHL.
We are back for our AM Minnesota program. Not that we went anywhere, but we got our opening market report through a service of our KDHL Agri Boosters, and we have been joined by John Haessig, who's the commander of the Faribault American Legion. And before I visit with Sheila, I said her name earlier, visit with Sheila about her honor. What happened, John? I heard you were up at Shattuck. You can share the mic with her there if you would.
I was up at Shattuck St. Mary's giving an award and red, white, and blue cords to a female student, Zadie Abel, who joined the National Guard, is going to go to training this summer and then on to Auburn University after that. And then we gave her father a Blue Star Service banner. He flew up from Georgia. And we gave him a Blue Star Service banner because he has a child serving in the military.
That's got to be pretty cool to be able to do that.
It was pretty cool. And we have, next week, we'll be doing stuff at the high school and stuff at Bethlehem Academy. And then we work with Discovery School and the ALC as well.
And you are happy to do this, of course.
Very happy to do it.
On behalf of the Faribault League. Is there I guess I've never asked anyone this, is there a youth, I know there's Sons of the American Legion or whatever, but is there a youth program with the American Legion?
There is not a youth program with the American Legion, but the auxiliary does have junior auxiliary members that can.
I mean, you have Legion baseball, I know, but
Yes. Yep.
which would be a youth program.
Yes.
And
well, the Legions, that's one of their pillars is youth and community. So
I think the auxiliary used to do an essay contest too.
they still do that essay contest.
Used to judge it down here.
Yep, they still do the essay contest.
Okay. Well, we don't want to run out of time. I want to find out about Sheila Radtke. She is the Honorary Grand Marshal. So, Sheila, tell me about your service, if you would, please, and thanks for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
You bet.
I joined the Army Reserves in August of 1976 here in Faribault, the 417th Maintenance Company. That's where I started. And I don't have the combat experience that Luke had, and thank you so much for your service. But I was a senior personnel sergeant. I was a chief instructor. I was a combat readiness team member trying to enhance mobilization for units so that they could go to war. So I held a variety of positions.
You enjoyed your service?
I did, very much so. My dad was a first sergeant of a Graves registration unit in World War II. I can't imagine what that job must have been like, but I always wanted to join the military after, sharing experiences with him.
And then you went into corrections afterward, I see.
Yes. I started out at the juvenile prison in Red Wing, and then I transferred to the women's prison in Shakopee, and ultimately the medium minimum security prison in Faribault.
And you do some substitute teaching.
Yep, at Divine Mercy.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Certain grades?
Everything from preschool to 8th grade.
It also says here that you and your entire family volunteer for Defeat of Jesse James Days and have done it for nearly 4 decades.
Yeah. We totally enjoy the Defeat of Jesse James Days, and started out working at the rodeo. And then my husband became a raider, and he actually was in the reenactments for 21 years. And now our son is a bank robber in the reenactment. And he's been doing that since he was 18 years old. And now my grandkids are also townspeople in the reenactment.
That's got to be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's way fun.
You know what I've always wondered and is how it's so popular every year. I mean, once you've seen it once, right? But every year they get massive crowds.
Oh, we certainly do.
For those reenactments. Do you watch every one of them?
Well, I'm in them as like a town person.
Oh, you're in them too?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
So, yeah, I see them all.
It's a family affair.
It
but
is.
You guys are the bad guys, the robbers.
Well, my husband, he now plays a town defender.
But he was a robber, and
Yes,
you were
he
a good
was.
person.
Yes. So now he shoots at his son, who plays one of the robbers.
Wow. It's all in the family. So how do you feel about being the honorary Grand Marshal of the Faribault Memorial Day Parade?
Well, I was humbled, but I just don't feel that maybe I did, especially the type of duty that Luke did. But
you really don't get a choice. I mean,
this is very true.
I used to tell my dad, he said, one time my dad served in World War II. Mm-hmm. And he said, I saw no combat. I'm not a war hero whatsoever. I said, just the fact that you served makes you a hero. He said, your uncle was the hero. He's the one that flew missions over the Pacific and all that. And again, I said, that does not necessarily make him a hero. Mm-hmm. Whoever serves, I think, is a hero.
Yeah. I mean, service is statistically improbable to begin with. Less than 1% of our population ever serves in the military to begin with. And then you take an even smaller fraction of that whoever gets deployed, and an even smaller fraction of that who would ever see combat. It is statistically improbable. I think if you're brave enough to step up and be a part of that 1% at all, you deserve the recognition.
Absolutely. And it says here you were once a Soldier of the Year.
Yes.
So tell me about that, Sheila, if you would, please.
They select you based on military bearing, your knowledge, APF, your Army Physical Fitness score. And so I just was selected and then went through the various levels of competition and ended up as first runner-up of the 4th Army.
What kind of competition? What are we talking about in terms of competition? Are you running or something?
Well, no, there were interviews, and then they would look at your evaluations, your accommodations, medals, letters of commendation, so forth.
Okay. Did you meet your husband in the military?
Actually, we met. He asked me to dance, and I love to dance. I thought, I could dance. We didn't even introduce ourselves to each other, but I thought I could dance with him the rest of my life.
Wow.
And we've been married 44 years now.
Now that sounds like a movie, doesn't it?
That's pretty great. Well, yeah, I'm getting married here next month, actually. So.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I have my 42nd birthday in about 10 days.
You have the same kind of story that Sheila has?
No, a little more modern, online dating and the whole and whatnot. But I was fortunate enough to meet my fiance as someone who's already a part of this community and a part of my network even. So she goes to the church that's headed up by Nate's wife's cousin. So it's like another statistical improbability, but it's been great. She's a wonderful woman. She's actually out in California doing some work for, she's doing some deals with some pretty big names.
Is she a photographer too?
No. She's we'll just say an executive of a company for a printing company in Shakopee called Imagine. So she's out on a business trip right now, and I'm here with you guys.
Well, I'm sorry you have to go through that. I know you'd much rather be with her. Kirk, you got a couple of other events I know you wanted to promote here before we sign off in a minute.
Yeah, just real quickly. So for the Memorial Day program, 9 o'clock at the courthouse at the Veterans Memorial. We have our annual service there, and then that'll be followed up directly thereafter at 10 a.m. parade, Central Avenue to Central Park. The program begins at Central Park about 15 minutes after the parade, which you'll be the MC for us there. That usually starts around 10:45, and then at noon we got the luncheon at Post 43, and then at 2 p.m. our Shieldsville Memorial Observance. But the two flyers that you have in front of you there, Memorial Day weekend, Sunday, our 18th annual Rolling Thunder recognition, and we're going to be visiting the Kenyon Gull Cemetery Church. And then I also have a flyer in there. American Legion is hosting an event for a good friend, Bob Thomas, out of BR Cycles, who lost his house in a fire.
All right. That concludes today's edition of AM Minnesota. Have a super day.